So here we go again with the webbot. It talked about China cracking down on the financial fraud in their country with a heavy hand. It talked about even going offshore ultimately and finding assets of these people within China that were citizens that took their ill-gotten wealth and went over to America or this country or that country, bought real estate, bought property, did this. And then China according to the webbot, when this all goes down, China shows up and says, "Oh yeah, that property in wherever, Florida or that's actually ours because our laws state that any ill-gotten gains from our citizens is actually ours. So we're coming here to repossess that. We're going to take it." But it also talked about this big crackdown on financial institutions and fraud and that sort of stuff. This story right now is absolutely massive. It hits that nail on the head. Webbot hit, my friends. China just uncovered a $64 billion underground bank. I don't mean under the dirt. I mean like off the records, underground, hidden, etc. Chinese authorities just uncovered a massive underground bank in the country's eastern Zhejiang province, according to a report in the People's Daily, the official Chinese Communist Party newspaper. The scale of the operation reported is astonishing. The report suggests 410 billion yuan, or 64 billion US dollars, in foreign exchange transactions were made by the unnamed illegal organization. 370 people have reportedly been arrested. China's currency is tightly regulated by the government, so even multinational firms have struggled with large foreign exchange deals. An underground bank effectively smuggles money in and out of China for investors. According to Bloomberg, a man named Zhao transferred billions of yuan through the bank accounts meant for international companies, which are not usually available to Chinese citizens. Here's a snippet from Bloomberg's report. Zhao circumvented the capital controls by directly transferring yuan, again that's the Chinese currency, overseas and then exchanged the money into foreign currencies at banks including, get ready to be shocked, HSBC. You know, the same bank that was caught money laundering for criminals and drug cartels? Yeah, that one. You know, you don't suppose this underground bank had anything to do with that either, do you? No. Zhao then allegedly transferred the money to his clients' accounts, the report said, citing the local police. The size of the bank means it makes up over half of the underground financial activities that have been identified since earlier this year. The Chinese government is engaged in a, webbot word, major crackdown on corruption, which is paired with attempts to stem the flight of capital from the country. And again, this is written according to right now from Business Insider 18 hours ago. Hold on, I read that webbot report over a month ago, I believe, that talked about this kind of stuff happening. That's interesting. They even used the same exact word that the webbot was talking about. Cracking down on corruption and fraud and whatnot. Isn't that amazing? Until recently, the world was buying the yuan, or renminbi, on net as people battled to invest in China. Now that's changing. With Chinese growth slowing and investment opportunities elsewhere, people are trying to get money out of the country, but the strict capital controls stop that from happening through official channels. That's why the illegal or underground banks crop up. $64 billion? That's no little underground bank. There's some stuff going on there. And I just thought as I read this earlier, I said, you know, and this is definitely 100% pretty far-fetched. Not super far-fetched, just pretty far-fetched. Okay? I thought to myself, I wonder if by chance, whatever illegal activities this bank was involved in with that money, you know, the underground investments and things, Because that's just one reason. Well, we just use it to help clients invest in China. No. There's more to it than just that. And I thought, could there be by chance, maybe, and I don't know the answer, could there be some relation, again, by chance, that this ties into the gold and silver markets and that bank was doing stuff, maybe playing the paper game for the club, or they're using it to do some of their bidding. And then when I say bidding, I mean pushing the price of silver down, gold down, let it go up, go, playing the game with it. Is there a possibility of that? Absolutely, there is. But I can't sit here. There's absolutely no proof in front of me that says that that's the case. But while this is happening, all of a sudden, as you saw from our previous video, Federal Reserve emergency meeting on Monday about those rate hikes. All of a sudden, the same time frame that this underground bank is found, $64 billion. That's no small activity there. 64 billion US dollars, or 410 billion yuan, or whatever the conversion was. That is a massive amount of money. And no, it's not just for, we just did it for investors overseas. We made a little money doing it. Oh no. There's drug laundering money and all kinds of stuff involved in that. This. And I'm just wondering if there's any chance that whatever this bank was dealing with had something to do with precious metals. I don't know. It may not. But again, with the whole Federal Reserve, emergency meeting on Monday. It was unannounced until right now. We're announcing it now. We need to have an emergency meeting about those rate hikes. All of a sudden. Now, naturally, you'd say, well, what the hell? So there's an underground bank in China for $64 billion conglomerate. What the hell does that have to do with the Federal Reserve making a decision on raising the rates all of a sudden? And honestly, I don't know. But what if that bank was used for something that the club was using it for, and that just threw a monkey wrench in its plan because they just stopped it and arrested all these people, and now the club has to react to that, and for whatever reason they have to go after the interest rates because of it. Again, none of us are flies on the wall. We can only speculate. And we all like to think my opinion's the best, and all my thought process is the best, right? We all think that about ourselves. But no one really knows, and me included. I don't know. I can only offer you my thought. And yes, it makes sense. Oh yeah, I could see that, etc. Doesn't mean it's going to happen. But again, when you're not part of the club, you have to guess at what's happening. And you look at little clues, pieces of a puzzle. Okay, I've got a few pieces of the puzzle, but this is a giant puzzle. And I just got a little squint of an eye of a glimpse of what I think this might be. And you might be completely wrong. Or I might be completely wrong. So this, again, this is responsible for half of this illegal activity that they've figured out exists earlier this year. Half of it just got wiped off the board. Of course, that means there's another half. And is the other half a single entity like this bank? Or is it multiple little entities? God only knows, who knows. But I find it fascinating, again, that the webbot said, get ready for the Chinese government to start going after the fraudster, bankster, financial corrupted bastards in their country, not ours, not JP Morgan, no, theirs. If this story isn't that, then there is no such thing. This thing is responsible for half of all that illegal activity in the entire country of China. They just nailed them. This is huge. And the webbot said to look out for it just a month or two ago. That story wasn't written a month or two ago. As I said, it was written 18 hours ago. How in the hell does this webbot program get this? Not even worth mentioning the other 4 things it already got earlier. Well, within the last 2 months, I've already mentioned a million times. And I said we're waiting on a 5th and final thing, which is Bitcoin to rise again, past 408, stay above that level, and then silver goes crazy high. That was the 5th and final thing. However, now that this has happened, that makes 6 things. So now 5 things have happened, and this ain't done yet. The party's just getting started. with that prediction of the China cracking down. That's 5 things now out of 6 I just squeezed in there because it happened. I wasn't even expecting this on the radar yet. So now 4 things have happened, make that 5 things have happened, and now the 6th thing becomes the silver spiking if it is a webbot hit. And again, I said this before, how can anybody with a rational mind, even though you almost have to have an irrational mind to believe in the webbot, yet I do have a rational mind, and I see the prediction this thing's made, so I pay attention to it. And again, with a rational mind, I have to say, now it's got 5 of 6 things correct. Would I be a betting man against the 6th thing being right? Absolutely not. Even though it just so happens to be the price of river. That was Scooby-Doo talking there. The price of silver rising in an environment where it has been slammed for years now and has been dunked underwater recently. Just push it down. That's what makes it even more absurd, because it's like you really think silver's going to rise in the near future? Like, even if it jumps several dollars at once, would be a massive precedence being set for silver. If it just, you woke up one day, oh my God, it's up $3 today. Holy, But I can't ignore these other things that have happened and the webbot got right. So as hard as it is for me to say, I do believe silver's fixing to make that move in the very near future. It's so hard to feel that and say that when I've seen for the last several years what the club's been doing to silver, the price of it. But again, where did this emergency Fed meeting come out of nowhere? That's happening Monday. And the agenda for the day, there's only one. Item number 1, interest rates. And as I said in my previous video, you were supposed to have the interest rate meeting December 12th, I believe. The previous meeting you just had recently, you said everything's fine. We're not going to change any rates. Nothing's going on. We think we might raise in December if the conditions appear to be where they need to be. We'll cross that bridge in December. And out of nowhere, approaching that 3rd week of November, right? We're around that time frame right now. When the webbot said it expected Bitcoin to make its big rise, and then followed right after that would be silver. And I'm seeing this saying, oh my God, the Fed's having an emergency meeting on the rates. What are they going to have, an emergency meeting and say, yup, we're going to leave them alone? They already said that. Just a little while ago, they said they're going to leave it alone. We're going to wait till December and talk about it, maybe do it. Now there's an emergency. In other words, the answer is yes, they're raising rates on Monday. Now the question, or what I can't say is, they may come out of the meeting and say, yeah, we've agreed to raise the rates, but we're not going to do it today or this week or next week, but we're going to start in December, such and such date. But it's official, today we're raising rates. It could go that way. The bottom line is, the words coming out of their mouth have got to be, we're raising the rates. Now, the only other thing I could maybe see, because there's been 2 talks about the rates. A, we're going to raise them, or B, we might make them go negative. But with all of the talk for all these months about, they said they're going to be raising soon, they said they're going to be raising soon, they said they're going to be raising soon, it would be absolutely absurd, in my opinion, for them to have this emergency meeting to say, oh, we need to go negative rates. When this whole time the economy's good, the jobless numbers are good, inflation's good, everything's low, it was low, everything's good. So yeah, it looks like December so far we'll be on track to raise the rates. And all of a sudden, prior to that, 2-3 weeks actually prior to the date you're supposed to have that meeting, you come out on that, this coming Monday and say we're going to go negative rates? Where would that come from? All I know is it's either raising or they're going to go negative. My thoughts on this is they're not going to go negative, they're going to raise the rates. That's my thought. But there's always an agenda, and whatever the club's agenda is will dictate what they say on Monday. Plain and simple. If the club's decision was to go negative rates, that's what they're going to say on Monday. If the club's decision was we're jacking the rates up, That's the club's decision. They're going to do it on Monday. I just don't think they would honestly have an emergency meeting to go negative rates. I just can't see that. But again, we may all be surprised at whatever the hell they say Monday. But the webbot said, third week approximately of November, this triggering of Bitcoin spiking is going to happen, which will then trigger silver to spike. And in the most recent webbot report, I believe, which I did this summer, you can find it, November, it said the Federal Reserve, is going to make a very bad decision very soon, like in coming weeks. And again, this is from a report about 2 weeks ago. The Fed's going to make a bad decision. It's going to be looked back upon, and you guys made a very bad decision. This is terrible, whatever you did. That was the data coming out of the webbot. And again, and I'm telling myself, and we have an emergency meeting on Monday. You don't say. I wonder if they're going to make a decision that's going to be looked at as a bad decision in the very near future based off of what happens Monday. Magic 8 ball? Do I need it? Okay. Magic 8 ball? It's a Fed decision Monday, going to be looked back upon as a very bad decision. You may rely on it, it says. That's close enough for yes for me. Thanks again, Magic 8 ball. I've got better luck with this 8 ball than the mainstream media. Go figure. Take care.